That's Barack H. Obama, and they do want to back off now because they understand if they continue the fight, it's only going to have the American people come together, and that's what they're threatened by. Speaking of Ron Paul, Judge, I had him on during the first hour, and I went over the Washington Post headline where they talk about using a war to fix the economy, the David Broder article. I went over the Rand Corporation 2 years ago, our article at prisonplanet.com, talking about how they need a larger war so that the dollar stays strong and so that countries basically go along with the formation of this corporate world government. And Ron Paul agreed with me. He said that certainly we have to look at the military-industrial complex staging this provocation. Not that North Korea is good. They're probably the most evil country on earth, this hereditary dictatorship. But going into their waters, engaging in a naval exercise, firing artillery near their shore, when the North had warned them, that's clearly a provocation. What's your take on this?
My take on it is that all presidents love war, except if Ron Paul became president, because they know that war is the health of the state. The people will pay more taxes, give up their liberty, and unite behind the soldiers no matter what the outcome. They falsely believe that war will help the economy. It's beyond me how taxing people to purchase equipment and then destroying the equipment helps the economy. But this is a myth that has been perpetrated since Woodrow Wilson, reinforced by FDR, used by George W. Bush, and we're about to see if Barack Obama can use it. Fortunately, this is not in our backyard. It is 10,000 miles away, and there are voices in both parties on both sides of the aisle are saying, no, 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 we're not going to do this again. Ron Paul is leading the charge.
All right, Judge, I've got a few other final questions for you, and then tell us about what's coming up tonight on the TV show. Glenn Beck, who I've been critical of on many fronts because he's flip-flopped over the years. You haven't. That's why I support you and your libertarian views. We're very close to each other.
Right.
But I'm not trying to attack Glenn. He's given you a big platform to really tell the truth. But 2 weeks ago, as you know, he came out, he read the quotes by Obama and Clinton officials saying how great a terror attack would be, how it would help them. He read the newsletters where they're demonizing Glenn and myself, saying we're going to cause an Oklahoma City attack. And he went ahead and said, these people, this is a quote, are planning another Oklahoma City to be blamed on the Liberty Movement. That's a big, bold shift for Glenn Beck. What's your take on him coming out and talking about false flag terror?
Well, I'm a close friend of Glenn's. Obviously, I don't have any control over what he says on his show, but I appear with him a lot. I fill in for him on television when he's not here, and I share a lot of his views. I don't know anything about what he just said, but I do believe that this government would welcome the type of conflagration that we have seen in the past if it would help it become more authoritarian, particularly now with the loss of the House and with a filibuster positive number that the Republicans have, and I carry no water for them, as you know,
yes,
in the Senate. The president is going to have to rule by decree, and the easiest way for him to rule by decree is to accompany his decree with fear, and the easiest way to get that fear is to look the other way if somebody assaults us.
Okay, finally, man, because I never raised this with you because, it's a subject I just leave alone with folks because I don't want to cause people problems, but you brought it up with Geraldo Rivera, who says he is concerned about Building 7. And I want to put the question you put to him to you. I mean, what do you think of Geraldo Rivera coming out? What do you think of 7?
It's hard for me to believe that it came down by itself. I was gratified to see with Geraldo Rivera investigating it. I'm gratified to see that people across the board are interested. I think 20 years from now, people will look at 9/11 the way we look at the assassination of JFK today. It couldn't possibly have been done the way the government told us.
Well, I want to tell you this. You got a lot of courage, Judge, and so does Geraldo Rivera. I don't agree with him on some of his more liberal political views, but I do resonate with his courage, and I resonate with yours, and I already had the highest respect for you, but now the thermometer just broke, and the mercury, geysering out of it right now. Judge, you are a great American, and I just can't wait till your show's #1 on Fox Business when you're on regular Fox full-time, because no army can stop an idea whose time has come. In the 2 or 3 minutes left we've got, what else is important on your radar? Should we call for congressional investigations of Chertoff, ordering the TSA machines and making money off of it? What's your view on that? And then tell us about the TV show and what else is on your radar screen.
Well, I'm hoping that and again, I don't carry water for the Republicans, because when they ran the government, they, before our eyes, destroyed what it meant to be a conservative Republican. And I yearn for those views of Barry Goldwater, which were rejected by the Republicans in the Bush years. However, having divided government, as we now do, with the Republicans controlling one House of Congress and the Democrats controlling the other in the White House, will permit investigations, and investigations do induce transparency and do require more debate. But here's an interesting proposal that I'm discussing tonight on Freedom Watch, 8 o'clock Eastern on the Fox Business Network. Professor Randy Barnett, good friend of mine, good, strong libertarian, and William Howell, the Speaker of the House of Delegates of the state of Virginia, proposing a repeal amendment to the United States Constitution. This would permit the state legislatures of 2/3 of the states to invalidate any federal law or regulation they wanted. How about that for a check on a runaway Congress? Now, this is not going to pass overnight. It'll probably only pass if we have a constitutional convention, because the Congress will never vote for legislation that would diminish its power. But think of the freedom we'd have in the land if there were no unfunded mandates, if the states could thumb their noses at the feds, and if the feds couldn't enact legislation unless 2/3 of the states went along with it. That's my bag this week. Aside for the TSA, I'm trying to invite Cousin Janet over to Thanksgiving dinner so I can give her a piece of my mind.
What's Corsi covering tonight?
Of course, he's making the argument about Chertoff, that this is crypto capitalism trying to make money, that the government spent $1 billion on these things, that they're not effective, that they don't work, that they harm us, that they bought the wrong equipment, and they did it because Mike Chertoff advised them to do so.
But isn't this the classic corruption where the general orders the missile system that doesn't work and then retires in 2 years and becomes the CEO of the missile company?
Exactly. It's almost literally what happened. I say this as someone that has known Mike. I've invited him on my show. I welcome him to express his views. But he's at the bottom of a hole trying to dig himself out because it looks very bad. It looks like he concocted the need for this and then decided to go work for the people that sell it, and he's not willing to acknowledge that he sold the wrong piece of equipment at the cost of billions.
Well, I've got all these video clips of him a year ago admitting he's making money. Now they put out a press release that was in the Hill saying he's made no money. I mean, boy, he's going to get in a lot of trouble doing that type of crab walk, Judge.
Here's the question, Alex. He's a Republican. Will Darrell Issa and the chief interrogators of the Republican House summon one of their own? Interesting to see what they do.
Well, that's like Obama covering for Bush and then Bush covering for Clinton. This circle of corruption seems to never end. But you do agree that the acceleration of awakening of true libertarian populism is on fire?
Absolutely. And it wasn't 10 or even 5 years ago.
All right.
Today it is.
In closing, you got to go, Judge. Getting ready for your own TV show tonight. Tell us about your current book, the new book coming out in the new year, and one more plug for the TV show.
In April, my next book is coming out called It is Dangerous to Be Right When the Government is Wrong, The Case for Personal Freedom. Tells you all the freedoms you have, where they came from, what the government has done to take them away, and how you can fight back. And Freedom Watch is 7 nights a week, 8 p.m., Fox Business Network. Alex, I can't thank you enough for this megaphone.
All right, I'm going to call you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend.
You too, my friend. I'll talk to you in about 45 minutes. Give you a quick call after the show. God bless. All right, there goes Judge Andrew Napolitano. And again, the fact that Fox is giving him a bigger megaphone shows they can't stop the times. They were buggy whip salesmen, but the automobile has come along. Nobody's riding horses anymore, so they're bringing an automobile out for the public. I mean, he talks about government staging crises. He says investigate Building 7. He talks about the New World Order. He talks about states' rights. Judge Knapp is awesome. He is awesome. I disagree with him a little bit on the Arizona law because I don't believe it's unconstitutional, but I understand the danger of profiling. So I agree with him partially on that. I'm not totally sure on that law. We're still gauging it. But other than that, I agree with him almost 100%. And he's just a wonderful guy. And think, Geraldo Rivera, now Judge Knapp, are talking about Building 7 and not believing it fell on its own from some small fires. Do you realize the heresy they are committing against Neo-Condom? The kingdom of neocon, fear-mongering and false flag terror. I mean, he's certainly sticking his toe in the water. When they locked up Galileo for saying that the Earth was not the center of the universe, he then agreed to say he was wrong, but before he died, he said, well, actually, they do move, though. The planets do move, and the moons of Jupiter are moving, and so it's, they're kind of creeping up and saying, well, it does move. We're talking about physics here, and so who knows if they'll be persecuted. I'm sure all the George Soros publications by tomorrow will be Judge Knapp, now 9/11 truther. And, we've already seen the Rand Paul interview we just put on prisonplanet.tv. They're like, extremism. He says that Obama could become like Hitler. Well, what he said is this government's going in the direction of power grabs like Hitler, just like Naomi Wolf said. Oh, but when you're talking about the right wing going in a Hitlerian direction, that's okay. Just don't talk about the left wing. There is no left wing. There is no right wing. It's a corporate wing.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.